This is pretty cool. Are you ready for this? I'm stoked to share this with you. So check this out. This is in Providence, Rhode Island. When these workers unionized, their cafe was put up for sale, so they bought it.
Wow.
Oh, snap. This happened. So this is a White Electric, which is a coffee shop in Providence. What happened was they went to start a union. The workers formed a union. They wanted to form a union. They wanted to demand better conditions. They said go beyond slogans and window dressing. They wanted racial justice at the cafe. Excuse me. The letter was signed by 39 current and former staff. So they found out via a labor. So a labor lawyer told them they can basically form their own union. So they did. They called it Collaborative Union of Providence Service Workers, which is CUPS for short, which is pretty cool. CUPS, come on, that's awesome. So here they are right there. So they did that. Now, the day that they did that, they requested this guy Topin, who was the owner of the cafe. They requested he recognize it. So the next day, he put the place up for sale. Now, he offered the first opportunity to buy the cafe to the workers, who realized they could then turn it into a worker-owned co-op. So they raised $25,000 through a GoFundMe campaign, and then they held fundraisers at a farmer's market and raffled off merchandise to accumulate a $55,000 down payment. So they bought it, and now it's a worker-owned co-op. How does that not make you feel kind of good?
You know what, Ron? Thank you for giving me this gift of good news, because I feel like we need this, and that has just given like my day this rosy glow that I think will carry me into tomorrow. So thank you for that.
It's the little victories.
I mean, it's so rad, and like this is, I'm a big fan of Richard Wolff, and I've been on his show a couple of times, and his, like, first of all, just the way he explains things is so brilliant, especially for someone like me, who my understanding of economics is like trying to figure out a 20% tip. And so the way he explains things is so brilliant. And the way that he talks about the worker co-op is basically like, the US in particular, kvetches about like, oh, democracy and freedom. And yet the place we spend most of our lives at work, there's no democracy. And so this concept of the worker-owned co-op is really like, it's the only natural progression of anybody who says that they believe in democracy. And so these kind of moments where, that happens is just brilliant. And again, like, just like those little unions, this ripples outwards. This concept then moves to people who maybe hadn't thought of this or hadn't been exposed to the worker-owned co-op before. And it just opens up all of these potentials for people to build something where there is actually democracy in the workplace.
Yeah, and I'm glad you bring up Richard Wolff, because this is totally what he talks about. And what I really like about him is his solutions are grounded in reality.
Right.
Like, his solutions are based in, this is the society we're living in, and this is how we can change it. And this is a realistic way to start this progression that will lead to true systemic change. I mean, if everywhere was a worker co-op, because, you really look at what that means. Well, it is owned by the workers who live in their community. So this is going to be better for the workers themselves. This is going to be better for the community because they're a community player. This is going to be better for the environment, because guess what? You're not going to decide to wreck the environment in the community you live in. You're not going to do that. But some capitalist who lives, in some gated community miles away would decide to do that, and does all the time. So it is the natural progression, and it's such a and as you're seeing in cases like this, it's not impossible to do.
And I think you bring up another great point, which is the intersections of issues, right? Like this particular cafe had brought up the issue of racial justice. Well, that's something that bosses don't care about, right? Racial justice, a safe working place for LGBTQ, like those kind of things are not interesting to the boss who lives however many miles away. But for the workers, that's something that they then incorporate into like the guidelines that they work on, or, the worker agreements, or however they couch that. So these kind of moves intersect at so many different places and so many different issues. And again, like, have those ramifications.
Exactly. Absolutely. So shout out to everyone in Providence. Let me get the name of the place again to shout it out. White Electric. If you're in Providence, Rhode Island, get yourself a cup of coffee at White Electric because that is a worker-owned co-op. They wanted to unionize. They formed a union. The owner said, "No, thanks. I'm selling this." So they bought it. That is
Love
so badass.
Love
Ugh,
it.
I'm like, that was like
I know.
just saying that out loud felt like a natural cup of coffee. I feel like we just ran a marathon. I'm like, yeah, all right. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your news